break when I hear someone enter the bathroom and try to hide my heavy breathing under the sound of his pee. It's followed by a quick gush of water and the drying of hands. As soon as the coast is clear, I emerged from the JFK toilets, a born-again Christian, with a halo around my neck and a new mission in life. Gate 2. Chapter 3. Iceland Air. 05/15/2006. It's fucking amazing. I'm moving across the North Atlantic sky at the speed of sound, and yet his soul has caught up with me. I feel restless, buried in some extra small window seat on a plane full of blonde women and bland men. I don't know what's happening, but my legs are absolutely killing me. Mr. Friendly must have connections in heaven. An army of angels is pinching me with their pointy fingernails and strangling my throat with their clerical collar. Holy men are the worst. Back during the war, I once was ordered to guard a church in a small village near the town of Knin. The Serbs had been using it for storing their bombs, but now we were taking control of the region. On a foggy Sunday morning, the fucking village priest suddenly appeared out of the blue. He said he wanted to hold a mass. I said, no way. Nobody was allowed inside the church. He was an old man with a white beard and white hair around his ears. In a way, he looked more like a monk than a priest. And his face was full of this peaceful fatigue. Looking into his eyes was like getting a sneak preview of the afterlife. Those silent ponds in the Everwoods. It was as if he was already dead. As if he didn't care anymore. Without saying a word, he just walked past me, towards the church door. I ran after him and told him again in cutthroat clear Croatian that nobody was allowed inside the church. I had my orders. Absolutely fucking nobody! I screamed into his hairy ear. He just closed his eyes for a slow moment, and then made for the door. I tried to push him away with my rifle, but I couldn't really do it. I just couldn't get physical with this old guy who was like the spirit of humanity itself, or some high-brute shit like that. In pure Sunday silence, he brought out his large key and started opening the wooden door. I had already spent 4 years in the war and had shot more people than were sitting in my family tree, but I was still shaking off the badly made cigarettes I would smoke later that day. What the hell was going on? I was being outplayed by an 80-year-old unarmed priest. How could this be happening? As I watched him disappearing inside the church, I finally freaked out and shot him in the back. He fell on the stony floor, crucifixion style, like the guy hanging on the opposite wall. I shut the door and sat down with my back against it. I would have cried if the war hadn't cast all my tears in stone. So I just sat there, stone-faced, cursing the whole thing. My land, his land, our land, and the whole fucking war. I sat there for some 20 cigarettes. My Sunday in hell. I had killed a holy man, and I was deadly surprised by the effect it had on me. I'd killed older guys before, even one that could have been a lady, without suffering this type of moral hangover. But somehow this one was 3 tons more dramatic. Probably about the weight of his chapel. I could feel horns breaking through my hairline, and the fast-growing tail between my buttocks made sitting painful. It was then that I began to lose my mind. A strange feeling started growing in me. I felt like the big bang of my rifle shot was still vibrating inside the small village church, that the horrid sound was slowly filling it up, all the way up to the bell. I even heard the bloody bronze thing resonating with rage, filling my head with the same heavy metal droning. And before I knew it, I started firing at the fucking church bell like a crazy boy shooting at chickens. It cried out into the fog like a woman in childbirth. After some 15 bullets had banged the bell, a different kind of shooting rang out. I threw myself in the wet grass, ducking from a blizzard of bullets blowing straight out of hell. In a split second, all the church windows were shattered to pieces. Moments later, the whole holy thing blew up in a big yellow blast. Rubble punched my back like some iron-fingered masseuse, and a cornerstone dented my helmet. I was left semi-conscious. He who kills a man of the church will be killed by a church. I've never been inside one since. For weeks and months, my young, sick soul was tortured by the image of an 80-year-old Jesus, face down on a stony floor. Every night I hammered a big iron nail into his back and out through his heart, which exploded, painting my entire world red. They offer Sideways on the plain TV, but also vintage stuff like Seinfeld. Some rusty old reruns of weirdo hairdos. Seinfeld was typically American in that show. He was a pretty funny guy, but he had no sense of style. Tacky like a Texan tux. Tasteless dressing and tasteful jokes. That's Seinfeld for me. I would have preferred it the other way around. The guy sitting next to me is reading some paperback monster that looks to be one of those mob thrillers. How many volumes can they write about those Sicilian brats? Occasionally he murmurs a yes or a no to the older gentleman sitting in the aisle seat who keeps popping some pills. They must be uppers, since he can't seem to allow the poor fellow to read his book without peppering him with questions in a bizarre accent. It turns out the talking guy is Icelandic, and the reading guy is a basketball player born and bred in Boise, Idaho. But now on a transfer to the Schneefel Stockholmers, or something like that. A small team in the Icelandic Conference. Oh yeah, and I forget to mention that this is a non-smoking Iceland air flight from New York to Reykjavik, Iceland. This was the surprise that awaited me at Gate 2. My exile had taken a northern turn. By the touch of my index finger, the video screen abandons Seinfeld's hairdo for an info map. A red airplane the size of Britain slowly crawls up the Atlantic, past some white thing that the talking man says is Greenland. Iceland, on the other hand, looks pretty green. The chatty one takes the next 10 minutes to explain his theory about this mix-up. When the Norwegian Vikings discovered Iceland in some year before 1000, they found Irish monks up there who'd already named the land Island, or the Land of Christ, for Jesus was Isa in their language. The Vikings, however, took the savior for ice. I'm glad they did, or else I'd be traveling to Christland. Okay, cool. What about Greenland then? The basketball player asks. The first settlers wanted all of Iceland for themselves, so they named the other one Greenland, so that next wave of immigrants will go there instead. Many people say it was the first PR trick in history. It really should be the other way around. Greenland should be called Iceland, and Iceland Greenland. Cool. I'm traveling under a pseudonym to a country with a pseudonym. Not too bad. I've heard about Iceland before. A friend of Deacon's went there once for some arms for legs deal. The nights are bright and the girls are long, he said. Or was it the other way around? It's a small island. Well, it's 2 times bigger than Croatia. In the middle of the North Atlantic. The in-flight magazine shows lunar landscapes and sunny faces. Mossy rocks and fuzzy sweaters. They say Iceland is a young, hot country that's still very active, shaking from eruptions and earthquakes almost daily, with boiling water and running lava breaking up through the surface. I wonder what brings Reverend David Friendly to this remote place. That's me, that is. I have to start thinking like a priest. Bless my soul. Once more I try to find the right position for my aching legs. The stewardesses all have nice bodies and speak English with super confidence. Bright girls, long nights. Yeah, that's how it was. The Icelandic look seems to be a cross between Julia Stiles and Virginia Madsen. Broad faces, barren cheeks, cold eyes, cool lips. One of them hands me a tray of food and gives me an innocent, "Oh, what a sweet puppy" smile. Must be the dog collar I'm wearing. I'm not a man anymore. I'm a priest. In that way, the bloody collar works. It keeps the sin away. Or keeps it all inside. My mind starts giving Munita a very long leash as I try to picture myself in bed with one of these northern nymphs. I don't succeed. Munita has the upper hand. I miss her soft skin already. They make you pay for food. I find a few holy bills in Friendly's wallet and send him my warmest thanks. Then I find out airline food tastes no better, even when you're paying for it. Maybe your taste buds stop working at 5,000 feet. Suddenly, the wise guy raises his voice, as well as his glass of red wine, and smiling says, "School!" to me and the basketball player. At first, I think he must be toasting my fresh hairdo. But he explains that this is the Icelandic version of cheers. The Vikings used to celebrate their victories by filling their victims' brain shells with booze. I love this country already. After dinner, I try to fall asleep. I really need my after-killing nap. But I seem to be the only one who wants to shut his eyes. The Vikings scream for another skull of cognac. And then the captain starts his voiceover bit. His manly voice turned to the max in the overhead speakers. As with all his colleagues around the world, he speaks in Irish, the incomprehensive language of the skies. Those cockpit monologues always sound to me like some Latin prayer, asking God for permission to cross his lawn. This one is 14 minutes long. I keep my eyes shut. Being friendly is an iron collar around my neck. Behind me, I can hear the stewardesses take yet another drinking order from two happy Vikings. And down the aisle, a group of chubby women have drunk themselves back to their high school days. The Icelanders seem to be related to the Russians, who can never leave their motherland without being totally hammered and would never return to it in a sober state. Makes me think of old Ivica, who used to live in our street in Split. He was so afraid of his wife that he had to soak himself in courage each time he wanted to leave the house, and never dared return unless he was deaf from booze. "School! School!" I hear them say behind me, all around me. I give up on sleeping and open my priestly eyes. Now it's selling time. They've turned the plane into a flying mall, with the stewardesses all busy running credit cards and handing out sunglasses and silky ties. I've never seen that before, not even on Aeroflot. But it seems like an effective but deadly combination. Drinking and shopping. I think to myself that Macy's and Bloomingdale's should definitely consider opening bars in their men's and women's departments. Maybe there are no shops in Iceland. Despite the captain's prayer, the angels keep on pinching my legs and punching a conscience I thought I'd lost. Normally, my profession carries no side effects, though I do get tired after a hit. The post-slang siesta is a close relative to the after-sex nap. Though there's little physical effort, she always prefers to be on top, the inner achievement calls for a little rest. And I finally managed to tune out the drunken shopping of my fellow travelers and fall asleep with Munita on top of me, her wonder balls bouncing and her long black hair tickling my chubby chest, like the tip of God's long white beard touching my sick soul. Chapter 4. Father Friendly, 05/16/2006. The landing wakes me up. It's a harsh one, with the plane shaking all over from nose to tail, long after it has touched the ground. A bright, sexy voice rings out over the system, first in the lunar language and then in English, welcoming us to the local temperature of 3 degrees Celsius. I guess Iceland is the right name after all. The photos didn't lie. It does look like the moon. Nothing but gray rocky fields topped with moss, with small blue mountains in the distance. It's lava, I guess. Lava fields. This is Volcano Island. The stewardess gives me another platonic smile as I leave the aircraft. The walkway is made of glass. Actually, the landscape looks like a huge set designed from a Star Wars movie. I attempt to enter this strange land like a regular visitor, trying hard to walk like the man I killed last night, swinging his black briefcase like a happy priest, wearing his old black shoes, shirt, jacket, and coat, plus the white collar. I kept the jeans on. I'm a modern minister. I follow the basketball player inside the terminal. He's way too small for his profession, shorter even than 6 foot me. Maybe they ship all the smallest players to the small nation leagues. Wise guy said the Icelandic nation only counted 300,000 people. Is that even legal? It's like if Little Italy was a country, with its own flag and everything, a small Olympic team. They'd sure take the gold in restaurant shooting. The basketball player leads me to passport control, where 2 lines have formed in front of a glass cage housing 2 officers. One line is for people of the European Union, and the other is for the rest of the world. I'm trying to remember if Russia is a member of the EU, when I realize that I'm American now. I'm friendly. The line moves pretty quickly. This will be easy, I tell myself. I find the holy man's passport in the inner breast pocket of his black coat, step up to the glass booth, and hand it to the officer, a dark-browed guy with a grayish beard. He opens it and then says something in his own language. I give him a blank look. As he repeats himself, I realize he's speaking Russian. The motherfucker is speaking fucking Russian. I'm sorry, I say. You don't speak Russian? He asks in English. No, I was born in the States. He holds up my passport. It says here you were born in Smolensk? Suddenly, all the veins in my neck become as thick as strings on an electric Fender bass. Fuck. I gave him the wrong passport. I gave him Igor's passport. I'm Igor now, not friendly. Big fuck. Yeah. I was, actually, but we moved. My parents moved to America when I was 6 months old, so in my mind... So you've been living in America since then? Yes, exactly. I'm relieved. But you speak with a Slavic accent. The motherfucker asks, what the fuck is going on here? This guy's way too qualified for his job. Your average Russian physics professor working as a passport control officer. Yeah, it's a kind of a strange story. My parents. I was living alone with my parents all my childhood, deep in the woods, and I learned the language from them. And they spoke English with a very strong Russian accent. The officer looks at me for 2 long seconds. Then his eyes glide down to the collar. You're a priest? His accent is difficult to decipher. Yes, I'm Reverend Illich. This is getting ridiculous. But it doesn't say so in the passport. Damn, he's like some super stubborn Serbian shitfucker. He asks me to wait and leaves his glass booth. I hear restless sighs in the line behind me. I don't look back. A minute later, he's back in the booth with an older officer in a blue shirt. They look me over like a gay couple auditioning for a threesome. Finally, the older one says, in an accent I recognize from Wise Guy and the stewardesses, "You're a priest?" "Yes." "What are you doing here in Iceland? Are you here for business, or...?" Finally, I find the voice of Igor, his true Orthodox spirit. The minister's job is all pleasure, but you may call it business if you like. The blue shirt looks impressed. He looks me over one last time, hands me the passport and says, "Okay, have a good stay." Shit. How could I have been so careless? How could I... Oh no. Maybe it was the right thing to do. The feds will probably have found Reverend Friendly's body by now. How long will it take them to identify him? When they do, it's better they not find out that someone is surfing the northern seas on his passport. Yeah, it was pure luck. I follow the flow of passengers deeper inside the air terminal. There is carpet on the hallway floor, and the soft-floored silence brings out the squeaking of Mr. Friendly's leather shoes. Igor's running shoes are inside the briefcase, along with his leather jacket. I reach the main hall and wonder what to do. I go to a desk and ask for flights to Frankfurt, Berlin, London, anywhere but here. There are flights, the blonde MILF says, but they're all sold out. The next available is 3 days from now, to Copenhagen and then to Zagreb. I wonder what my bags will say when no one claims them. I find Igor's Visa card and buy him a ticket to Tomislav's fatherland. Mr. Friendly looks on as Toxic signs Mr. Illich's name. Suddenly, my simple life has become quite complicated. A layer cake of ideas. A mature blonde recommends I go into town and hands me a hotel address. It's only 40 minutes with the bus, she says and smiles. Oh well, I guess 3 days in Viking land won't hurt. 3 days without a gun will be hard on Toxic though. An escalator carries me down one flight and I walk through the busy luggage hall. The exit gate is divided in two, for those with something to declare and not. My latest identity asks whether I shouldn't use this opportunity to declare myself guilty of 67 homicides. But I wave all the angels away like the cloud of mosquitoes. Surprise awaits me outside the exit gate. Out in the small welcoming area, a man with thinning hair and a thick-haired woman are standing holding a sign that reads, Father Friendly. I seem to be out of sync with myself. Too many selves, I guess. For I make the huge mistake of stopping short in front of the fucking sign. And me wearing the fucking collar. They make the obvious connection. Mr. Friendly? The woman smiles out in the more and more familiar sounding accent. I'm about to say no, when suddenly I spot two policemen standing further out in the hall, close to the exit. So, before leaving my lips, my no turns into a yes, and I'm done for. I'm grounded for the next few hours. I'm forced to be fucking friendly. The killer becomes his victim. Very nice to see you, Mr. Friendly. Did you have a good trip? The man asks me with a very strong Icelandic accent. I notice his bad teeth when he smiles. Yeah, it was okay. Suddenly I hate my own accent. Not very Virginian, I guess. I hardly recognized you. You look even younger than on your website. The woman says, always a big smile. I have a website? Oh, you saw me there. I mumble. Fuck it. I'm a hitman, not a spy. Yes, of course. The woman continues. But we've not seen your TV show. My God, I have a TV show? I'd like to see that. You wouldn't like to see that, I say. Oh, of course. We would love to see that. They both cry out loud like kids high on candy. They're a happy bunch. God's doing, I guess. They introduce themselves, and their names are incredible. His is Gudmundur. Must be his stage name. And her name is something like Sick Reader. I wonder what their American nicknames would be. Who and C? Even Tomo was too long for the Yanks. The more people, the shorter the names. The less people, the longer the names. Suddenly, Sick Reader looks me down and asks, Don't you have any luggage, Father Friendly? I pause for a moment. No. The word is my only luggage. They laugh like happy cartoon hamsters. I feel like an actor who's just made an important step in the development of a new character. Hallelujah! They bring Father Friendly